I'm Ebony McMorris, and you are watching Brown Box TV. We are here at the 48th Annual National Black Caucus of State Legislators, and I have a very special guest with me hailing from the great state of Minnesota.
Yes.
I have with me State Senator Bobby Joe Champion. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And you're the first African-American Senate president also as well.
Yeah,
and
that is true. You know, in our history, the state of Minnesota became a state in May of 1858, and the first African-American that was ever elected to the House of Representatives was a guy by the name of John Francis Wheaton. But the first black president, excuse me, the first black senator was not elected until 1972, and his name was Dr. Robert Lewis.
Such a rich history, which I know also carries a little weight on your shoulders, which you have to do. I mean, you have to worry about all of your constituents, but many times with the African American community there, we have to double down in certain areas. Day one, going in, what are you going to be doing as we face a new administration? What are the priorities for you?
You know, the main priorities for us as a state is to protect some of the rights and opportunities that we've already granted. And so with this new administration, we're not quite sure what they're going to do. We know of some things that they're going to do, and we know that some of the things they want to do will be in direct contradiction or in direct conflict with the state of Minnesota. So we have to do a lot of work around navigating through these new realities, but protecting our ground and standing our ground, I guess, is a better way of putting it.
Let's talk about that. Like specifically, what are some of your areas of concern? We've had a lot of people talk about DEI, the Department of Education, healthcare and housing have been extremely big issues. So for you specifically, what are those concerns?
Well, for an example, we passed a bill that made all individuals eligible for health care, regardless of their immigration status. So we know that's an important notion for us. Also, we made it possible for individuals, regardless of their immigration status, especially if they're dreamers, to be able to be eligible for grants for college. I also passed a bill for driver's license for all, regardless of your immigration status, that you could get a driver's license, because it's important to us that our roads are safe and people have an opportunity to live their life in a real way. So those are just some of the things that we have to, pay attention to. Although I could go on, because there's a long laundry list of things that we did in the great state of Minnesota. Like, for an example, for individuals to be able to go to school, if their family makes less than $80,000 to go to college, that is. And so just even protecting some of our English language learners, So there's a number of different things that we have to protect, because this year is a budget year for us. And so we know that some of the attacks are going to come in the confines of the budget itself. So we have to be prepared for that. Child protection, you name it, infrastructure. Right. It's just so many areas in which we have to protect and stand our grounds.
Being here at the conference this year, what are some of the ideas you've been exchanging or talking about with your other colleagues in other states?
Housing is one of those areas. Also, there's a rich discussion going on about artificial intelligence, how to use that in a way that promotes and protects and sustains, black people, for an example. But just a number of different things, from higher ed to healthcare to black maternal health. To me, that's a big issue, even though we've done some things back in Minnesota to really be innovative around this notion. We even started an office of murdered and missing black girls and women, an office where we put resources behind it, because we believe that the value of black women and girls should be recognized. And too often things happen to them, and there's no centralized way by which to galvanize resources in order to give them the support and the services that they need. Those are just some of the things.
What are some of the issues that you feel like are, specifically for black legislators, are some of the challenges that you face as a black legislator?
Do you have all day? No, okay, let me just say that I know that you don't have all day.
Right. But that's true, facts.
But some of the challenges is, really making sure that the issues important to all people are on the platform. That includes us.
Right.
Right. Too many conversations and platforms don't include us in a real way. And so,
how do you work to amplify that, the voices of your Black constituents and yours as well?
So, that's through town hall meetings sometimes, is being available, accessible, inviting them to come and have these important conversations, prompting these important conversations. I believe that there's the importance of the faith community. How do you engage in a real time so that you're just not doing it or engaging the community when it's election time, but it's all those off years, and how do you engage them? And so what's also important about that is that you have to help develop trust and belief that we're going to do something, and that their vote counts and their voice matters, right? And so those are just some of the challenges that we are faced, because even though we have a long laundry list of things that we've done in Minnesota, there will still be someone who says, what are you doing?
Well, there's a lot of apathy we saw even after the election, that the numbers for Black communities were down when it comes to voting. And some say during this conference there was a conversation on whether we need to change the language and how we talk to various constituents. Are we talking above people, or are we talking it right at where they are?
Well, I mean, absolutely. Changing language, listening is a very important notion.
Right.
And I think too often we're talking to people and not with people. And that we sometimes come in with our predisposed way of thinking about the issue instead of listening to them. They may have a important way by which to frame a matter. So I do think listening is an important component, but also year-round engagement, not just during an election cycle. Because what happens is that people think you can energize, familiarize, educate people all in one election cycle, and that's not the way it works.
Not gonna happen.
Right. And we have a different way by which people are getting information now. Some of it, not in a real way. So if you think in terms of young people getting the majority of their information from social media, we know that social media does not always produce clear or correct information. And now that you're getting more and more people, millionaires and billionaires, who are now owning these platforms. You got China and other people infiltrating. So we have to get our young people back to understanding the information that they're receiving, thinking critically about that information, questioning that information, but also finding a way to land upon how do I make sure that the information that I do trust and that I am receiving is quality, and then we can base strategies on how to address the matter.
I love it, Senator Champion. Thank you for the work that you are doing for your constituents. Look forward to seeing what you will do in this new year. Before you go, one question for you. Senator, what is in your brown box?
So now that is an assumption that there's only one thing that's in my brown box, but courage is in my brown box, because it's going to take us to be courageous in this with this new administration, for us to be intentional about the strategies that we're putting forward in order to protect the people that we love. So I guess that's two things, is courage and love.